As promised, here we are with the second part of the story of the most important turncoat of the Sicilian Mafia, Tommaso Buscetta. So, welcome back. Now, we left the story where Tommaso Buscetta tried hard to continue a law-abiding life far from his native Sicily. However, things didn't go too well in South America, where he emigrated to set up businesses, which turned out to be unsuccessful. But the story of Tommaso Buscetta winds between Italy and abroad, especially Latin America, and of course the United States. And it's not by chance that he's called boss of the two worlds. After a first and unsuccessful experience in Argentina and Brazil, Don Masino comes back to his native Palermo. And here, a different and much more satisfying career awaits him. A career that he really has never abandoned and that has accompanied him throughout his childhood and his adolescence. So, let's continue his story. Upon his return to Sicily, Tommaso Buscetta apparently resumes his honest business activity and opens a mirror factory in Termini Imerese, together with his brother Fedele. In the meantime, Tommaso Buscetta is welcomed back with open arms by the boss of Porta Nuova, Don Filippone, and of course by the entire Cosa Nostra. Buscetta is also associated with two dangerous characters, Angelo la Barbera and Salvatore Greco. Angelo la Barbera was the head of the downtown Palermo family, an ambitious and unscrupulous man, while Salvatore Greco was a mafioso held in high regard by Cosa Nostra. Greco was nicknamed Chiquitero, or Little Bird, because of his short stature. However, despite his unimposing appearance, Greco gave vast demonstration of his authority and ruthless manners, becoming the first secretary of the Commissione. Yes, indeed, that Commissione, the highest authority within the Sicilian Mafia. And if you've watched our previous videos on the Sicilian Mafia, you are already familiar with that term. But in any event, we'll link in the description below those videos for your convenience. Tommaso Buscetta became linked to these two figures thanks to his new illegal activities, smuggling of cigarettes and drugs. After so many failures, finally Buscetta was in a profitable and florid industry. And in order to develop closer relationships with Angelo la Barbera, Buscetta decided to become a killer for la Barbera family. However, things are always very volatile when you deal with such characters. And as a result, despite la Barbera, Buscetta and Greco forming la Commissione, soon the first mafia war brought one against each other. However, let's go back to the creation of the Commissione, which was a very important event within Sicilian Mafia, and to some extent, it was partially an idea of Tommaso Buscetta. So between October the 12th and the 16th, 1957, prominent Sicilian and American mobsters met at the Grand Hotel e de Palm in Palermo to exchange information as well as to discuss and organise the future of Cosa Nostra. Also present at the meetings was Tommaso Buscetta, who, of course, did not sit idly by. Discussing with the boss, Bonanno, Buscetta felt the need for the creation of an organised mafia structure, similar to that already adopted by Cosa Nostra in the United States. It was in this way that the Commission, later known as the cupola, was theorised, an organ capable of maintaining order and resolving internal conflicts. As already mentioned, Salvatore Greco was chosen as the guide of the Commission. Not really the chief, but his role was more similar to a secretary with organising powers. Without wasting time, the Commission fixed some important rules to make Cosa Nostra even more solid and more powerful. Amongst these rules, there was a particularly important one. In fact, Salvatore Greco proposed that each member of the Commission was a simple soldier in order to spread the powers amongst the families. However, this position was not shared by all families, and in part, this controversy led to the First Sicilian Mafia War. The ancient rule of not allowing a head of a family to be also the head of the mandamento had above all the purpose of taking away part of the power from some bosses. Don Antonio Matranga and Don Calcedonio di Pizza were the two more adverse to this rule, and protested vehemently in the Commissione to change this rule. Inevitably, this caused some contrasts amongst the families, which initially were addressed and solved. However, the climate amongst the families was way too hot, and it didn't take long to trigger a brutal conflict. On December the 26th, 1962, the body of Calcedonio di Pisa, one of the most important bosses of Palermo, was found lifeless in Palermo. Don di Pisa, who worked with the Greco family, had been suspected of having perpetrated a scam concerning a shipment of heroin on its way to New York. In relation to these circumstances, evidence of course is scarce, but what we do know is that de Pisa was responsible for the illegal smuggling of heroin between Palermo and New York and financed by the La Barbera, Greco and Manzella families. The families in Brooklyn made it known that the quantity of heroin they had received was not in the agreed quantities. We also know that the commission found Don Calcedonio di Pisa innocent, but La Barbera family never recognised this sentence, and it continued accusing de Pisa of stealing money from them. Therefore, when Don di Pisa was found dead, several families of Palermo immediately blamed La Barbera clan as the murderers. Don Salvatore Greco, at the head of the commission, could not turn a blind eye to this event, and together with several other families of Palermo, decided to eliminate the La Barbera family. The first wars of the Mafia broke out in full force, and Tommaso Buscetta was right in the middle, having strong ties with both Greco and La Barbera families. The war was ruthless, causing a very high number of casualties in Palermo and in the rest of Sicily. Buscetta was forced to take sides in order to avoid being ambushed and killed. And despite initially Buscetta deciding to stick with La Barbera family, after realising that his side was clearly losing, Buscetta decided to switch sides to help the Greco family. The first Mafia war brought to Palermo an unseen amount of violence, which terrorised the population. However, the Italian government did not decide to intervene, since the people involved were only mafiosi killing each other. But everything changed on June the 30th, 1963, one of the more deadly days for the Carabinieri, the massacre of Ciaculli. On that day, the Palermo police headquarters received an anonymous phone call mentioning that in Ciaculli, a small village southeast of Palermo, an Alfa Romeo Giulietta had been abandoned. 7 members of the Carabinieri, including a lieutenant, went to the place mentioned in the anonymous call to verify the situation, particularly given also the fact that such an area was located just a few metres from the home of Salvatore Greco. The doors of the abandoned car were left open, and the police immediately understood the danger. The bomb disposal team of the Carabinieri was called, and a bomb was found on the back seat of the vehicle. After defusing the bomb, the Carabinieri proceed with the inspection of the car, opening the trunk. And this triggered a violent explosion which killed on the spot all 7 members of the deployed team of Carabinieri. Not mafiosi. This time it was different, very different. The 7 people who'd been massacred by the bomb were not mafiosi, they were representatives of the state, and the government could therefore not ignore this event. The Italian government's reaction was immediate, and it didn't spare anyone suspected of relationship or ties with the Sicilian Mafia. A massive manhunt was organised, which led to numerous arrests. Tommaso Buscetta was amongst the first suspect of the brutal terrorist attack. However, Buscetta, knowing that police were looking for him in order to arrest him, escaped from Sicily in 1963, commencing a long period as a fugitive. After leaving Italy, the escape of Tommaso Buscetta continued through Switzerland, Mexico, and finally in New York City, where he planned to settle down. Vera Girotti, his second wife, followed him in his daring escape from one country to the next. Both Buscetta and Girotti were officially married when they reached New York, and both lived under false names. However, despite all the precautions taken by Tommaso Buscetta, the New York police in New York City managed to recognize him and arrest him. For unknown reasons, Buscetta was soon released from prison, taking the opportunity to escape once again back to Brazil. In 1971, Tommaso Buscetta was able to set up a profitable drug traffic route between Brazil, the United States and Italy. And he felt relatively secure in the new country, having undergone plastic surgery as well as surgery to modify his voice. However, in 1972, Buscetta's property was raided by the Brazilian military police with a warrant to arrest him. Despite Buscetta living under a false name and doing his best to convince the police that it was all a terrible mistake, the Brazilian forces were sure that the man in front of them was Tommaso Buscetta, a mafioso wanted by Italian justice for the murder of 7 carabinieri and international drug trafficking. In December 1972, Tommaso Buscetta, also known as Don Masino, or the boss of the two worlds, lands at the Palermo airport in handcuffs and is escorted by the Italian police to the prison of Palermo. It's over, especially after receiving the second conviction of 8 years in prison for international drug trafficking. The long run of Tommaso Buscetta was over, and the boss of the two worlds was forced to spend the rest of his life in jail, in the Turin prison where he'd been relocated to a few years later. It's over. Well, until a weird order arrives with the guards of the prison of Turin. A special prisoner from Palermo is granted half-day freedom for unknown reasons. The order is immediate. Open the cell and let him go for a few hours. And yes, you guessed it, it most certainly isn't over. But that's it for this episode. Yep, this fascinating story continues, and we'll be uploading the next instalment of Buscetta's intriguing story very shortly, which means please do subscribe to make sure you don't miss it as soon as it's out. And as always, please leave us a comment below with your thoughts. Until next time, take care.